Town, the ward councillor, who is also the member of the mayoral committee, the officials led by DDG from the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure, officials led by DDG from the Department of Forest, Fisheries and Environmental Affairs, the harbour master, I don't know whether he or she. Oh, okay. He's amongst us today. Good afternoon. We're supposed to start at 2, but it's almost now 22:03. So sincere apologies to all those that were waiting for us. As we indicated that we'll be starting at 2, we experienced a little bit of a challenge as we're coming down. Some of our teams got lost and the traffic on the road, as we are from Yzerfontein. Yzerfontein. Okay. So what we will do, as we have done so in other harbours, is that we just want a very, very brief overview, and then we go and do the walkabout, and then we come back and get a detailed briefing about what is happening here. Let me introduce the team of the members that are serving in the Portfolio Committee of Public Works and Infrastructure. My name is Nolita Ntobongwana, the chair of the Portfolio Committee of Public Works and Infrastructure. Next to me is Honorable Lindiwe Mjobo, a member of this committee. Next to her is Honorable Sharon van Schalkwyk, a member of this committee. Next to her is Honorable Shirley Mohoto, the member of this committee. Next to her is Honorable Tim Mashele, the member of this committee. And in that corner, we have Honorable Medi Hicklin, he is also the member of the committee.
Good afternoon, everyone.
We are accompanied by our support team from Parliament. We have Ms. Martinez, who is our committee secretary. Mr. Shuaib Denzin, our content advisor. In the corner, we have Ms. Inez, who is our researcher. We also have Stabi, who is our support. I think she is out.
Right there, no, she's
I don't see her. She is part of us. We are with the team from Parliament Communications. The cameras, they're not from any broadcasting or media house. They are from the Parliament, as all that we are doing is recorded because this is a formal visit that we are doing. We just didn't sleep and decided to come here. It's part of the oversight work that we are doing. As we all know that small harbours are part of a unit of PMTU, which is one of the entities of the department. So we are here because of that. But we are sharing the function with the Department of Forest, Fisheries and Environmental Affairs. So that is why they are also here. But if you talk about properties of government, you are talking about public works and infrastructure. So we will then, if there are any, Mr. Kubeka, it is part of the department. Okay, let's allow you to introduce your team. Oh, just because I know them. Okay, sorry. Executive Mayor, please introduce the team.
Thank you, PC Chair, and good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Cape Town. Thank you for allowing us to join here today. I think just some remarks from my side. In addition to being the Deputy Mayor, I'm also responsible for the portfolio of spatial planning and the environment, including all things coastal management, and that includes all of our 3 harbours within our geographical footprint, Hout Bay, Kalk Bay and Gordons Bay. And the reason why we adjusted our lives to be here today, because Hout Bay is a very important harbour for us. It's the one with the most challenges, and really keen to be part of conversations how we sustainably respond to the issues that are faced here by the harbour master, those who have businesses in the area, and of course the residential components as well. And so that's why we are here today. And also he'll introduce himself, my colleague will introduce himself in a moment. But thank you again for having us. We are a proud partner of this conversation, and yeah, we're just looking forward to what we call in Cape Town the MBWA, management by walking around. I love the fact
Love it.
I love the fact that you subscribe to those values as well, and hopefully it won't be too dire the walkabout today, but we're keen to be part of that conversation. So Rob, I'm going to just hand over to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Deputy, and thank you very much, Chairperson, for affording me the opportunity to be here amongst your committee and officials from Public Works and from Department, from DEF. My name is Rob Quintus. I am here with two hats on today. I am both the Ward Councillor for Hout Bay, and I'm also the MMC for Urban Mobility, which used to be called Transport in the city of Cape Town. So, two hats. Hout Bay, as I mentioned, has been traditionally, over many generations, a place for families and a place for small businesses to flourish. That has changed dramatically over the last sort of 15 years or so. Gordons Bay and Kalk Bay are very fortunate in that they're still beautifully maintained. Hout Bay is absolutely pregnant with possibilities and opportunities. It could be an absolutely catalytic space for job creation, tourism, and the various aspects that I'm sure Public Works wishes to leverage from its first assets. It is almost a forgotten jewel in a crown. And I sincerely hope that the walkabout today, and yes, there will be parts of it that will be dire, I certainly hope that the remainder of the walkabout is inspiring, because I am inspired daily by the possibilities for this harbour. Should we be able to discuss for the future the sorts of public-private partnerships that can just create jobs and create an asset for Public Works, and an asset for the City of Cape Town, and an asset most importantly for the community we live here. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Councillor. Mr. Kubek.
Yes, Honorable Chair and Honorable Members, Excellencies, local leadership of the municipality. The name is Nkosana Kupega. I'm the Acting Deputy Director General for Program Management Office, and the function of Operation Pakisa Small Harbours reside within my branch. With your permission, Chair, I will introduce the delegation from Public Works and Infrastructure, and I'll ask my colleagues, DDG Sue, to introduce colleagues from DFFE. Just behind, we've got DDG Nyeleti Makubele. She's the DDG for Real Estate Management Services, the leases. I indicated to the Chair that she'll join us today. Next to her, on her right, is her left rather, the regional manager of our Cape Town Regional Office, Ms. Penny Pena. She's the regional manager. Next to DDG Makubela is the Makazo, who's part of the RAMS team. I will go right at the back. Ms. Batabile Mulope, she's our parliamentary liaison in the department, linking up with a colleague in the IGR, Patu, she's the director for IGR. We've got Susie Valentine, who's responsible for user information and planning. I've got Mr. Mulatelo Mwasa. He's the chief director within my branch in the PMO. Next to him is Mr. Solin Chwane, who's the director for real estate and also a head office responsible for state-owned. Next to Soli is Mr. Dumsani Kavela, who's the acting director for leases in the Cape Town Regional Office. And last but not least, Sophie, she's our head of security in this region of Cape Town. Thanks, Honorable Chair.
Did you say?
Good afternoon, Honourable Chair, Honourable Members of the Public Works and Infrastructure Portfolio Committee, Deputy Mayor, Councillor and colleagues. My name is Sue Middleton. I'm the DDG of Fisheries Management in the Department of Forestry, Fisheries and the Environment. Chair, I'd like to take this opportunity just to extend my apology that I couldn't join you yesterday. I was in our portfolio committee for the day, presenting our annual performance plan. But I was ably represented, I'm sure, by Ms. Andrea Bernat-Seda, who most of you met yesterday. Andrea has stepped in at short notice as the acting director for Harbours. Our long-serving director of Harbours retired, took early retirement at the end of February. And the post has been advertised, and we're moving to fill it as a matter of urgency because it's a very strategic and important portfolio. We're also joined by Nomonde Simon, who is the acting deputy director for Harbours. The post will also be advertised and filled. And then we are joined by Ms. Pumla Feni, behind you there. She is the Hout Bay harbour master, and you're sitting in her wardrobe. And last but not least, we're joined by Mr. Levi Poseidonhout, and he's responsible for administration in the harbour. I'll leave it there, and quite happy to give a short presentation on anything you want when I'm called on to do so.
Okay, thank you so much, DDJ. Mr. Kubeka, anything that you just brief before we go out?
Yeah, just to say, Chair, as part of the refurbishment project, this structure where we're sitting, it was part of the refurbished structure. As the Chair was walking out and the colleagues, we've got a guardhouse, which was also part of the refurbishment. It's been vandalized because of the community issues. I'm sure later when we do the presentation we'll talk about that. There were a number of sunken vessels in this harbour that we removed as part of the project. As you can see just behind us here, there's a new slipway that was also part of the upgrade. We have done the ablution facility that is also part of the refurb. Before this major refurbishment, I'm sure as you were walking, Chair, you've seen there's a new perimeter fence around the harbour that we did after there was an assessment, a security assessment in terms of the activities around the harbour, and the specification was such that we must do a concrete fence just to deal with some of the challenges. Chair, you will see as we walk around, we have a number of empty lots. There was one major client that left, and the building was vandalized brick by brick to an extent of threatening the security that was here. That is why in the discussion with the DFFE and with the assessment that was done by our security unit, we were able then to bring the tactical response. I'm sure the Chair, we have seen them. It was as a result of some of the activities that we suspect are happening here. As part of the construction work that was done here, we had a fence also here that has also been vandalized. we can share some of the vandalism reports of the work that the vandalism that happened to the work that we did post the refurbishment project. It is in this harbour, Chair, that we indicated that we also trained the divers, professional divers are part of the beneficiaries of the refurbishment program. So with the plans that we have indicated, and I'm sure DDG Makubela will add later, we've got a number of month-to-month leases here, which are going to follow the strategy that we've discussed yesterday, which we can also share with the Deputy Mayor and the Councillor around some of the plans that we have on this jewel that we can all awaken in this particular area. So Chair, the Harbour Master will take us through as we then walk about what are some of the challenges. The client that was here, after they have left, indeed the harbour became a very serious, there were serious security challenges within this particular harbour. We also have that side, as we walk, we have done the fish flag area where they prepare the fresh fish. We've also done the compliance officer, which was as per the requirements of the FFE. We need to also to do the compliance office, so we'll walk about. There was a discussion that we had with communities that will create a remembrance wall and a stage of some of the people that died either here or as a result of the activities that are happening around the area. That was part of the work that we're going to do with the community. As we walk also, we wanted to create a tourism area where some communities can come with their crafts and they can sell some of those crafts as part of the SMME development. So we're going to walk through that area. As we walk, Chair, there are major challenges here, and we've set it with the FFE, and I'm sure DDT Sue will talk about some of the plans in terms of the security challenges. But for now, we have agreed with the FFE that we will appoint the service providers. We will pay from our budget, and then we'll submit the bill to the FFE. We will talk in details with DDG Makubela on the number of active leases, the number of leases that are on a month-to-month when we come back. I think I'll leave it at that, Chair.
Yeah, let's do the walkabout and then come back and get detailed now. Presentation. think most of us have never been in the situation that we are in.
And you don't want to die.
You are not even sure whether are you safe in here. When you look at those that even are out there, there are only two against. It's sad what we have had when community members come and damage something that they are supposed to benefit from. It's really a challenge. But let's get to the presentations. Mr. Kubega,
Yeah.
it's part of the presentation that you sent to us, or?
Yes, in the presentation that we sent yesterday on the leasing, I think is slide number 4. But Diditi Makubela will add, but we've got 70 lots in this harbour. We've got 41 month-to-month leases. We've got 24 vacant properties, and there's 5 active leases. On a monthly basis, we collect here from the current landlords almost 400,000. So annually it's about slightly above 6 million. Sorry, it's about 5 million that we collect, but our holding cost and what we pay is around 6.3 million. So you can see that we are subsidizing because the state pays more than what we are collecting, and it's given because of the number of vacant lots that we have. I think on the infrastructure we've seen, though what we have not seen that side is the flag area and the compliance office, which we'll drive through, as well as the new ablution dock that we've created. That's on the infrastructure. The plans was that as we call for proposals, we need to work together with the FFE. We need to work together with municipality so that we are able then to say what is the map of this harbour, what is possible in each, so that strategic lots are given to strategic potential service providers who are going to then anchor the activities of the harbour. We also have NSIR here in this harbour. They are that side as well. They are part of the beneficiaries of this particular harbour. I think I will leave it there and then maybe ask DDG Sue to add on the DFFE issues.
Chair, with your permission, I don't know, I thought maybe I would just take a step back before coming to Hout Bay itself and just talk about what the fishing harbours are supposed to contribute within the fishing context. I won't be long, I won't give you a history lesson, but I think it's important to know that fishing or fisheries is a national government competency, with the exception of inland and freshwater fisheries, which is a new mandate for us, and we're busy, we just developed an inland fisheries policy. So South Africa has 3 types of fishing activities. The first is the commercial sector. And under the commercial sector, we have 22 different fishing sectors. And in the commercial fishing sector, we allocate fishing rights on a competitive basis. So people have got to apply, they've got to compete with one another for the allocation of a fishing right. And in terms of our Act, we can allocate fishing rights for a maximum of 15 years. The idea behind that is you need to give the fishing industry sufficient length of time to invest in the fishing sector, whether it be in boats or equipment or processing or whatever. Okay. After the 15 years have lapsed or passed, the fishing rights revert back to the state for reallocation. So we have just completed the last fishing rights allocation in 10 fishing sectors in 2020-2021. And the Minister is busy considering some of the appeals. And the fishing sectors that we've just allocated are some of the big fishing sectors, like your hake, deep sea trawl, your hake, long line, and the small pelagics, anchovies, and pilchards, squid, and so on. Then the second type of fishing sector we've got is the small scale. A small scale, it's slightly different. Their rights are allocated also on a 15-year basis, but to small-scale fishing cooperatives, so to communities. Okay. And in this case, Hout Bay will become a small-scale fishing community. And I'm going to mention that because I think that's got some potential for us to work with the small-scale, and there's an overlap between small-scale and the poachers, to protect the resource, because once they get given a 15-year right, they have a vested interest in protecting the resource against poaching. So we need to look at co-management of the fishery, and the small-scale sector is going to be critical there. Just to mention that we've allocated small-scale fishing rights in the Northern Cape, the Eastern Cape, and KZN, and we're busy completing the rights allocation process in the Western Cape. The Western Cape has been delayed because there was contestation around who was declared as a successful fisher and who was not successful. So we've just, under delegated authority for that, we've just allocated the rights, and the appeals process is going to close on the 27th of April. The small-scale sector is a complicated sector because in terms of the definition of small-scale, it's the near-shore, or what we call the inshore fishing sectors. So it's your abalone, your west coast rock lobster, your lionfish, your mussels, your oysters, and so on. All those species that you find close to the shore. And it's those species that are under threat from overfishing and poaching because they're easily accessible. To get to the offshore, you need very expensive equipment, big boats, trawlers, and so on. So it's the nearshore species that are most under threat, and it's the ones that we most have to protect, and there's the overlap with poaching. And then the last fishing sector is what we call the recreational fishing sector. The recreational fishing sector is open to any South African citizen over the age of 12. You are allowed to fish for recreational purposes, for fun. You on a recreational permit that you buy annually. Roughly it costs you 180 Rand for the year. And in terms of the recreational permit, you are allowed to catch certain species, so many a day, and there's a bag limit at a size limit. So it's those people who are going on holiday and they want to go and dive for a rock lobster, or, do a little bit of line fishing. And up until now, that permit has been available from the South African Post Office, and now we're facing a little bit of a crisis because the Post Office is no more. So we've got to look at ways in which people can access the recreational permit, and it's impacting particularly on the rural communities in the Eastern Cape and KZN, where the post offices are just not there.
Well, post offices will not be anywhere.
And they're not going to be there again. And it's not just us in the fishing recreational permits. There are a whole lot of other government services that the post office was providing to rural communities that is just suddenly not there. Anyway, coming back to harbours. So the harbours are meant to service the fishing industry. They are meant to be places where you launch and land your fish. And what I didn't mention is that we manage the fisheries either on what we call a total allowable catch, where each rights holder gets given a quantum, an amount that they can take out annually. Or we manage it on the number of vessels or crew that are allowed into that fishery. And so the purpose of the harbours is that we can inspect and record who lands what, when, where, and that we can monitor that they stick to their quota, to their allocation. And that's the main purpose of the fishing harbours, that you've got to, you can either land in the fishing harbours or in the national ports controlled by the NTP. What is it called?
Transnet.
No, that one, yeah. So, like Cape Town Harbour is not a proclaimed fishing harbour, it's a national port. Unfortunately, the fishing harbours, the 13 proclaimed fishing harbours, are only found in the Western Cape. And we, Eastern Cape and KZN and Northern Cape in particular, Port Nolloth, are crying out for similar arrangements, because the advantage is the state subsidizes your mooring and your docking. It's cheaper to land in a fishing harbour than it is in a port. Coming to Hout Bay, I think you all saw what's happening. So yesterday you were in Saldanha, which is the biggest fishing harbour in terms of the size of vessels that land there and what is landed. Kalk Bay is the busiest fishing harbour, but it's also the most chaotic and the most sad.
Sorry, did you say it was the Hout Bay was the busiest?
Busiest in terms of the number of vessels inning and out. Hout Bay tends to have smaller vessels than Saldanha. Yeah. What you saw, that rubber ducky, they launch from Hout Bay, poachers, and they go and they're diving. We saw them in rubber suits with oxygen and so on. They're going to Robben Island, which is a marine protected area, and they're diving for abalone. And they tend to leave at this time of the day, weather dependent. And as I was saying to the chairperson, it's not illegal to launch a rubber ducky, and we don't know if you're launching a rubber ducky whether you are up to no good or whether you're just having, you're diving for fun, or rowboats, yachts. Anybody has the right to launch or leave from the harbour. So we can't inspect everything that goes out. We can only inspect what comes in, and then they won't come in if they can see we're about to inspect them, and they rather throw stuff overboard. Going back to DDG's proposal, I think, notwithstanding the challenges and the big problems that we're experiencing, particularly in Hout Bay, there is room to do things better from both parties, from both Public Works and ourselves. We could be doing better. And I'm not going to pretend that things are perfect, because they're not. And you can see that they're not. I think that there needs to be better coordination and communication between the two departments. Both have very distinct mandates. Public Works is responsible for the properties and the infrastructure and the leases, and we are responsible for the fishing activities in the harbour. But we need to work together. The what was it called? The Joint Management Committee.
The
Harbour Management Committee is defunct. It needs to be resuscitated, and both of us standing here need to take responsibility for that. Pumla, as the harbour master, used to manage a harbour user committee. So everybody who operates in the harbour was invited to a committee to coordinate the activities and to, I think that needs to be resuscitated. Those are just two examples of things that we could do better. And then we need to work out the funding, who's who, because some things are blurry in terms of who should be procuring. And I think we need to revisit our MOU between the two departments around harbour management. I can't remember when last the MOU was revisited, not in my lifetime anyway. So, and I think it needs to be tightened up, and all these legal issues that you've mentioned, like who's responsible for sunken vessels, needs to be dealt with in that MOU. So those are just, oh yes, I believe yesterday, the one issue that was raised, that came up, was around the harbour fees and how much we're charging, not just for leases, but how much we're charging the fishing industry to dock and to moor and so on. And I think there was a point that we don't seem to have increased the harbour fees for a very long time. I think more than 10 years. Now, just what happened was when we were doing the last rights, fishing rights allocation process in 2021, the setting of levies are what we charge the fishing industry for the fish that they land, and the fees, whether it's the harbour fees or the access fees, that mandate, the setting of the fees, is a concurrent function between my Minister of Forestry, Fisheries and Environment, and the Minister of Treasury, of Finance. It's setting of levies and fees is a concurrent one. And when we were doing the briefing cabinet in 2019, 2020, on the FRAC, what we call FRAC, the rights allocation process in 2021, we also mentioned that we had, the Minister of Finance had given his concurrence that we increase the fees that we haven't increased for a long time by CPIX, the inflation-linked increase. And at the request or inputs from Cabinet, including and very strong views from the President, that the fishing industry had been declared as an essential service during COVID because we were responsible for ensuring the provision of food and fish and food security. So people were allowed to continue fishing operations during COVID. However, because of COVID and the closing of borders and the closing of flights and the fishing industry struggled to get their product to international markets, and most of our fish does go out. It's exported. A lot of fishing operations were under threat because of COVID, especially the processing and so on. Species like abalone and West Coast rock lobster, the main market there is Asian, China and Hong Kong. That could not get product out for about 18 months. So we were requested to consider the economic plight and hardship that was being suffered by the fishing industry, and particularly your small operators. And as a result, our minister took a decision not to increase any of the fees, whether the fishing rights fees, the harbour fees, the levies, in the post-COVID era. What we need to do now is to review that, because we can't give a levy and a fee holiday forever. Okay? And I think the state is subsidizing the fishing industry a lot. You're saying you're undercharging on leases. So we do need to review all our fees and levies going forward. We need to benchmark, and we need to come with proposals for adjustment. And as I said, that is a concurrent question. So I just thought I would mention that because I don't think it came out clearly yesterday. I'll shut up here.
So invaluable, thank you.
Chair, just to indicate that we have asked Sophie to get in touch with SAPS and the station commander there present outside.
Okay.
Just to manage the situation.
Thank you. I was really, really afraid. I don't want to lie. I don't want to lie.
But you walked so slowly, Sitlalo.
Yeah?
You walked so slowly.
Ah,
I was standing there and I was going, Sitlalo, come.
I didn't want to show you that I'm afraid. I was really afraid. Thank you so much, DTG. Honorable members, I now invite you to come on. You wanted to add something, Andrew?
There was just something I wanted to add on to what DDG said, because yesterday there was a conversation about the 452 for the vessels, etc. So I want to just say I had a conversation with our finance. I'll send you guys the actual levies and fees. It's not quite as simple. It's a base rate, and then there is an additional rate based on the size of the vessel, which is based on the tonnage of the vessel. So, depending on the size of the vessel, it ranges significantly. So it's just from the record side. So we'll send you guys the legislation, but there's a multiplication to all of that, and it's already based on the size of the vessel.
Thank you so much.
But still very, very low as compared to a commercial port.
Yeah. So it ranges quite significantly from commercial vessels to full scale. It is lower, but it's very different to
what we had yesterday.
Yeah, that's just part of the base rate, and it's hard written, but it's a bit more. It's a lot more complicated than that.
I'm sure.
Okay, thank you so much. Honourable members, Hout Bay.
Chair, I think we need to hear from the Harbour Master before we start asking questions, don't you think?
Other than
She
what
is-
she
other
has.
than if there's anything that she
Okay.
wants to add, don't you think?
Is there anything else that you want to add?
No, I don't think I've had anything to add after the DDG has said everything, other than thank you that all what you've seen and what happened, you are just here to observe and to witness how the pressure and the frustration that we work under, the conditions that we work under on a daily basis. Thank you.
Okay. Then let me invite questions, comments. You don't want to present where you.
No, it's not a question.
Oh, okay. okay. Honorable Mukhoto, Honorable Hicklin, Honorable Jobo, Mayor, Kalk Bay, Mashele. Okay, and you, Councillor.
Thank you, Chairperson. The presenter has just mentioned a very important point by making us aware that this harbour is very busy. And it is also chaotic. Obviously, if you are a manager, and then you are working in a place where the place is busy and there are chaos, what do you do about the chaotic situation? Who is supposed to manage that situation or correct it? When I'm speaking about the management, I'm not only referring to the manager alone. The manager is not working alone. The manager has people that surround the executive, if there is any executive, for an example, that is working with the manager. If every day they come here, they find chaos, there is lasers fair, nobody's caring, things, are being messed up. Why are they earning a salary if they are not trying or striving to run this place effectively? Because obviously, if they were running this place effectively, this place would be generating a lot of money. It would be creating a lot of job opportunities for the local people who are now busy vandalizing this area because they think they are not benefiting from this area. They don't own the place because they don't benefit. So if perhaps what I'm saying is contrary to what is happening, I would like to know how many local people are being employed by this institution, by this harbour. How many are they? And in reality, how many people are more or less supposed to be employed by this harbour if this harbour was running effectively? And to the management of the harbour, not only the management, I'm talking about the management because if the institution does not have, a responsible, a focused, visioned management, obviously, even the lower staff, will not perform well. So what I would like to know is, right now, because I'm hoping before we even came here, you are aware of the situation. You should be, it's 2023 now, you should be having a turnaround strategy, to turn around the situation, to make it more effective, so that everybody, we customers, when we come here, we must be happy. And because if we, the customers, are happy, and even the people that are importing fish from this harbour are happy, then obviously there will be more profit that is being made here. And even the local people that are supposed to be employed here will also be happy. I just want to know, do you actually have that turn-away strategy? If you do have, can you please, try to explain the strategy that I'm thinking if you do have, it's not just there sitting in the files. You must have already started implementing it. And then if you have not yet implemented the strategy, when are you going to start implementing it? And I also heard about the charges or the tariffs that we are charging here, the vessels and whoever around this place, you know, the fees or the charge is very, very low. And for the purposes of the other committee members who are not aware of how how low the charge is, I'm going to request that when you respond here, you must give all of us the idea of the charge that is not economically viable that you are charging. That is why I'm saying you could be making a lot of money if really, I don't know whose interest are you serving, because if you were serving the interest of the people, I'm not saying that you should be charging a very, very, you know, unaffordable tariff. But the one that you are charging now, and you are saying you've been charging it for the past 10 years, really, you know, was it normal? Is it normal? And right now, we've passed COVID, even though maybe it might be hiding somewhere behind that mountain. But right now, there are no more COVID restrictions. But we are still waiting for the department, you know, to suggest to you again that you must increase the tariffs. And one other thing that we observed outside is about vandalism that is taking place, or that has been taking place. I've just asked myself one question. And I'm hoping that amongst us here, or amongst the management that is working here, those of you that were there when vandalism was taking place, I'm hoping that, or I do think that you could have done something from the beginning when vandalism was taking place. You shouldn't have waited it, you know, looking at vandalism taking place and then being hopeless about the whole situation until a lot of money is being wasted, and then from there onwards you are like crybabies, and then you go to the department, and complain. You should have done something. I don't know what, but please, I'm requesting you to go back to the drawing board and think about all the effective ways that you could have done to stop vandalism. Because vandalism, if you just, you know, look at it and become helpless, it will still continue happening. One other thing that I may advise you to do, maybe that could have helped maybe from the beginning, is that after, you know, informing the department that there is vandalism that is taking place, after engaging the police that there is vandalism that is taking place, and then after you have realized that, you know, nothing was happening or was helping the situation, you could have invited all the stakeholders of this area. When I speak about all the stakeholders, I'm talking about the business people around here. I'm talking about the local people around here. I'm talking about the police. I'm talking about everybody. I want to mention everybody. You know, even the staff members, you know, that are working here, because I'm thinking some of them are part of the community. And then you could have sat down with them. I'm definitely sure that you could have come up with a solution, that the situation wouldn't be as worse as it is now. For example, are the people, I'm talking about the local people, are they benefiting from this harbour? And then if they are benefiting, can you please tell us, you know, how they benefit? Do you ever think of like empowering them, providing them with skills? Thank you very much. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much, Chair. First and foremost, I would like to doff my hat, firstly, to the Harbour Master and to everybody who is involved in this Hout Bay Harbour. I think you are fighting against really tremendous odds. I have visited Hout Bay Harbour often. I am a tourist. I eat at Mariner's Wharf often. I never for 1 second understood any of the challenges that are playing out behind the scenes. And I really mean it when I say to you, I am humbled to actually sit in this boardroom and say to you, I don't know how you do it. I really don't know how you do it. I am in awe of your bravery more than anything else. And I think that a lot has to be done between the Department of Public Works, DFE, and Social Development and Defence. And I think it is beholden on us as members of Parliament to really embolden you, Mr. Kubeka, on making sure that this harbour management task team really gets off the ground to try in particular and assist Hout Bay Harbour to get out of the grips of this terrorism gang. There's no other way to describe it, because you are in the grips of a terrorism war. And the challenges of these gangsters cannot be underestimated. And I don't believe any platitudes can make it any better. You are in a serious war. And I think that every iota of might that we can bring together as members of Parliament have to be brought together to include members of the community that want to see the resurrection of the Hout Bay Harbour, members of the municipality, and every single part of the community that wants to see Hout Bay restored to what it was, to actually get Hout Bay Harbour working. And I really think that as members of Parliament, we can play our part to ensure that we assist you in whatever way possible. And if that means working as a collaborative, as different communities, as different portfolios working together, that is what we have to do. Because it cannot be left to the Department of Public Works to do A, the Department of Forestry, Fisheries and Environmental Affairs to do B, and we can't work in silos. That is evident. And it really, again, has to be a case of taking hands, joining hands and walking this path together, and making sure that we walk together working with a community in whichever way we possibly can, and working with provincial and local government, and working with SAPs where possible, and tactical reaction forces where not possible. The devastation that we saw, and I must be honest, I do have a disability, so walking isn't easy for me. And when the harbour master said, "Can we please move?" I got jet fuel under my shoes, boy, and I was gone. I wasn't taking any chances, and I made no bones about it. I didn't. I made no bones about it. I want to see my grandchildren for a lot longer than I have. So, you know, I mean, there we go. I think I don't know what the answers are to dealing with the thuggery. And I think that is where the Department of Social Development needs to be brought in, because it is very, very evident that where you have a lack of economic empowerment, criminal elements take advantage. And where you have people who lack jobs, criminality develops and grows. And so we have to, as members of parliament, and I keep stressing this, this is our obligation to the future generations of South Africa. We have an obligation to uplift future generations by doing whatever we can to help find solutions. So I'm not offering solutions. I'm offering my assistance in any way possible to helping address. I don't have any questions for you. I have my will to say to you and to everybody else in this room, use me and abuse me so that I can help you do whatever I can to address the problems that you have, because there is such tremendous potential here. And as a member of the Portfolio Committee in the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure, I will do everything I possibly can to ensure that the messages that we need to get out about joining hands and walking together and helping Hout Bay Harbour become restored, it's our job. It's not somebody else's job out there. It's our job. We can't pass this off as, what are you doing? No, what are we doing? We are Parliament. This is the Parliament of the people. This is not someone else's job. This is our job. Everybody in this room has to take charge. Exactly as you said, I love this management by walking around. This is exactly what it is. We have to take charge and we have to do something. And I'll leave it there. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Muslim. Executive Mayor.
Thank you, Chair. Just to Sue, I think the question that I had before I make some comments, do we know how big or how thriving this illegal economy is? Because ultimately this would come down to how do we stop and reduce the impact of the illegal economy? Because you find now, I mean, there was a child getting on the boat with school shoes and school shorts, so he's definitely just come from school and joined the team to go and poach. So how big, does the economy be? And I think the only, in addition to what the previous suggestion that was made, in terms of how do we look at what, identifying the root causes and offering interventions there, but we also need to have a conversation. I think this is the responsibility of the Harbour task team. How do we now grow and stimulate the formal legal economy? Because I think ultimately that would be the alternative to the illegal economy. And if those discussions can sustain some serious traction, we have got investors in Cape Town that are key. They are key to invest, and I think if we can just finalize or draft or conceptualize our plan, offer the necessary certainty to those investors, and then just sustain traction on it. And that traction will include the safety aspects, because no one's going to invest if the area is not safe. And I think the other offer, well, Hamburg as a community, of course, needs to be an intervention there as well, and that will take a bit longer to yield the results. But as long as we start growing the legal economy, the formal legal economy, I think that will be a step in the right direction. So it's not just the poachers that head towards the V&A waterfront, but also the V&A waterfront patrons heading towards Hout Bay down the highway towards Hout Bay, and spending the time, spending the resources, investing here in Hout Bay. And I think that is something, because I love Rob's earlier remark, it is pregnant with possibilities, because that's what it is. And sometimes our solutions start with an improved coordination of just efforts, and I appreciate the members' offer, saying, here's my political will. I will do whatever I need to do to ensure that there's a plan, that we have wind in the sails, and we head in the right direction. And so my concluding remark would, again, just to reiterate what I said early on, we are proud allies in all of this. This harbour, one of 3 in our city, we want to have a seat at the table. We want to contribute towards solutions. And that's why we're here. That's why both Rob and I adjusted our days to be here because we recognize the importance of this conversation, and we will do whatever we can to ensure that Team Cape Town, that we contribute in a meaningful manner, and we're ready to go. Thanks, Chair. And just the one question that I have to Sue.
No, John.
Thank you, Chairperson, and welcome the head. One question, Acting DDG. You have two men carrying big guns, but still you have a community come here and you feel you are not safe. Is it possible to have these two men, or you need more? Because we didn't finish our walkabout, but we have two security guards outside. My last question, we started yesterday. I didn't hear anything talking about females in your fishery. Did you encourage females to join the fishery? Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Chairperson. I'm not going to.
On Kalk Bay.
Don't go there again. I'm not going to repeat the sentiments that I shared, that has been raised by the previous members. But starting with this building, Chair, I feel I'm just alerting DPWI to make sure that all their buildings are OHS compliant. Because as we are sitting here, it's a big threat because there's only one entrance. If there's anything happening now, we are in big trouble because you can see there's no way to exit this venue.
If they come back.
There's no way, and no,
Sharon is 100%
no. The thing is, there's guidelines in terms of OHS as laid by Department of Employment and Labour, and can we please, because my the reason why this thing is so close to my heart. In my previous life, I was a employee representative, but in this instance I was so proud when the harbour master was introduced to see it's a woman, but my heart melted when I saw her reaction, when I heard her voice, the fear that she's having, the anxiety that she's having, and the past experience that I've heard that she has endured. So it can't be correct that it's business as usual whilst we're having such incidences. Because we will end up saying, having a person resigning and a man occupy this position because males are seen to be ready for action. Whereas the areas that we visited, the areas that we're going to visit, don't have nearly an inch of the challenges that this establishment is having. So I feel that amongst all the proposals and recommendations that we are making and the prioritization that's going to come with it, this area should be on top of the priority list, please, as we move forward. So then in terms of the security, we've heard that there was an analysis being made, and then proposals were made, and then it led to the tactical response team being instituted here. But if we are not going to do an ongoing assessment and revisiting of the plan, then that exercise would be futile. because we'll find like it's happening today. And if it can happen in the midst of our presence, imagine what's happening whilst we are not here. The threat can even be worse.
Yeah.
So we really need to prioritize and revisit the security plan, because we see that in this area we got lost on our way here. And everywhere that we went, I felt so, as later on I put my hand back and my phone there, because I didn't feel safe just driving in the streets of this area. And that's why when you are reviving that committees, that's having a collaborative effort with all stakeholders, I really think the local government, investors, and everyone should come together and get proper buy-in from the people of this area. Because in many instances, we are doing things without the people who are supposed to be benefiting. And knowledge is power, but lack of knowledge is a very dangerous thing. So they are only doing, without trying to cover them or be a mouthpiece of them, they are only, it's about bread and butter to many of them. That's why they revert to the criminal element. But if they know there's something on the table which will relieve them, then I think things would start to change. Because surely if we talk about criminal activities, some of them might be lucrative, but at which cost? And if there is an option being in a criminal activity and reaping rewards, and getting a legal activity and getting even better rewards, it's going to bear fruit. So there need to be proper engagement with the community so that they can get proper buy-in, so that they can take responsibility of this harbour, so that they can see what the opportunities might be. Because if they don't know what they can get, then this is unfortunately what they would resort to. And I'm just cautious and that the last visit being to this area, because the report that we've received was based on the last visit 2012 and then in 2017. So this would definitely be our last visit, because we are finishing our term next year. And we would leave behind a legacy report. But what's going to happen, because the previous committee left behind a legacy report after their last visit in 2017, it's 2023 and this is the first time that we are able to come here. So if things are left behind and not being moved on as soon as possible without even thinking about a portfolio committee intervening, then we would have another 5 to 10 years. And coming back, then the situation would be much worse. So we can't have stakeholders who's not playing their part in being proactive and really mean business in the interest of everyone, because as government we are also losing out in terms of the funding and everything, because the more we pour in, the more it's been damaged and vandalized, and it's just a pit that's never going to recover. So I think, Chairperson, we'll deal with the rest of the recommendations as we meet as a committee, but for now, I feel there's really an impregnated opportunity thing here, but if, remember, with pregnancy, it's only a certain amount of time that's attached to it, so we need to move with speed.
We need to birth.
Exactly. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Chair. Greetings to yourself, the fellow members of the Portfolio Committee, Deputy Mayor and the Councillor, representatives of Public Works and Fisheries and Forestry, everyone here. For the first time in my life as an activist that I have to abandon a mission. Some boys in swimming costumes arrive and the mission is aborted. And you can see those that reside here that they know that these boys mean business. Jokingly, I said these boys come with swimming costumes. We have got guys with automatic rifles, but still, we all came back here. Now you can imagine the poor harbour master and the people who work here on a daily basis. The situation that confronts them on a daily basis and how they navigate. Now, we are here as the portfolio committee, the deputy mayor is here, the councillor is here, and everyone is here. Surely we must agree that we have surrendered this harbour to criminals and thugs. We might think these criminals are only interested on the illegal activities in the fishing space. That could just be the thinking because they came in swimming costumes. As a country, we are grappling with a challenge of human trafficking, drugs. Now, I want to plead, Chair, with this committee that is here. And I know that our mandate is coming to an end in less than a year. But probably if there is something that we can give ourselves as a project and do it successfully, is to make sure that we do not surrender Hout Bay to criminals. We ought to see to it to finish, Chair, that this harbour is not surrendered to criminal activities. It can happen outside, not here. And we come here and say we are members of parliament, and my person here, I can see she can sprint. I had thought in the ordinary I must carry her, but this time around, we do have an athlete. Now, Chair, and I do not want to believe that it is the social conditions of this ward that creates this thing. No. I'm from Mpumalanga, neighboring Kruger National Park. You have got problems of rhino poachers. Not even a single villager can tell you what is it that they do with the horns that they steal from those rhinos. So it can't be that when there's poaching, the problem is the socio-economic challenges. It might be a secondary thing. Those kids are supposed to be at school. The first bunch that I saw of kids with swimming costume getting in when we were standing on the other side, and those that passed us to go there up until the real bosses arrived and everyone was in June and July. Those kids were supposed to be at school. Somebody have organized them. And you'll be told that abalone is not even, it's not the biggest market, it's not here. So we must not sit here and fool ourselves that this thing is about the local activities. Yes, it is. The vulnerability is there. but we are dealing with international syndicates that have got also a potential to come and steal our kids here, our sisters, and take them to Asia and all these other places that we might not know. Therefore, in the ordinary, I have asked the department chair what is their plan in terms of improving security and all these things. But I think it will be too much to ask them. I'll just propose that, Chair, our committee, the security committee, the portfolio committee on security, the entire security cluster, including the Department of Fisheries and Forestry, must meet. We must hand over what we have seen here, such that we must first create a safe environment for the people to thrive in. Can you imagine you have got tenants here? Who are these tenants? Probably some of these thugs are also the tenants.
Yep.
Really, I don't think an honest, I'm not saying they're not honest, but I'm saying I don't think an honest business can participate here. I'll find it hard to believe that all the activities happening here, those that we say that are legal and illegal, they are all legal. I don't believe so. Therefore, I've got nothing to ask them. The department must just deal with some of the issues that Shares is raising. When you turn around and look at that building there at the back, I can imagine if you work on that building that is dilapidated and this boys comes, you must also have the capacity to fly and jump into. I really, ranging from yourself, you must also make sure that the environment is safe for our people. It must meet the standards of the health and occupational safety standards. But Chair, as a matter of agents, our committee and the security cluster committees, including fisheries, must meet. We have a hazard, and that is what we must deal with. Before we can deal with the harbours, and I heard the presentation on your fee structures, the department. I'm not agreeing to that, but I think we'll discuss that in another environment, not here. Here we can't discuss the fees because there is nothing that is happening outside. What is prominent here is the criminal activities, sure, and you must deal with that as a matter of agency. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Moshego. Councillor.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson, and through you I would just like to say Ngiyabonga, thank you, Nkosi and Danki to the members of the committee that have been here today in Hout Bay. The great Helen Suzman always said that a politician needs to go and see for themselves. They need to go and see for themselves. It's one of the first rules in politics and leadership is to see for yourself. And I'm very grateful that the committee has been here today to Hout Bay and seen for themselves. I was not expecting to, I was expecting to attend another very uninspiring, boring, uneventful and rather hopeless meeting. As all politicians can agree, we attend a lot of those. But I must say I'm actually filled with a great degree of hope, because I'm happy to see that every single one of the committee members present today have seen for themselves what the issues are, that there are very real issues in Hout Bay Harbour, and they've also likewise seen the potential that Hout Bay Harbour has to offer. And it is that potential which will solve many of the problems. A question from one of the honourable members was, are the people of the community benefiting? Largely, ma'am, the answer is no. You can see for yourself the decay that has crept in, and those who have invested a lot of money, the long-term tenants that have been here, operating the seafood processing, operating hospitality, etc., sit with great uncertainty as to what is going to happen to their businesses. They're on month-to-month leases. They're collectively employing hundreds of people in this community, but they are very reticent to increase their businesses or invest in the properties that they've built on this harbour because they do not know what their future holds month to month. So how do we solve the problem? It's a very simple thing. The National Department of Public Works cannot be expected to provide jobs for an entire community on the harbour. It's not possible. But business can provide jobs. Investors create jobs. It is business that creates jobs for people. It can't be government. Government cannot employ people from Hamburg en masse in this harbour. Government cannot be expected to create some type of infrastructure or some type of system that creates hundreds of jobs in this harbour. It's just not feasible. However, the National Department of Public Works can open up the space for others whose interest it is to create jobs by creating profitable businesses that employ people with long-term sustainable work, not EPWP work to try and pull one boat out of the depths of a harbour and then to do one cleanup operation. Long-term sustainable jobs can be created, not by government, but by the private sector who would love to get involved here. It would just be a discussion around the policy of what is going to happen in these spaces. Is the National Department of Public Works going to take hands with the private sector as they did at the V&A waterfront, arguably one of the most successful public-private partnerships in the world, something that Cape Town and South Africa can be hugely proud of. This can happen in Hout Bay too, but it's a policy decision that cannot happen at a local government level. It will happen at a national government level. So how do we solve the problem of the socioeconomic issues? It's creating jobs, dignity, people having access, feeling like they own this place because they come here every day for work. It's not happening, but it can happen. Where people are invested in this place. They know that they are going to come every day to work for years on end. If they work hard and if the company survives, they'll come through for years. They don't need to worry about an EPWP 3-month contract here for a year and then wait another year for an EPWP contract. That's not sustainable and that's not dignity. So I'm very grateful for the committee being here today, and I do hope that my peers and ward councillors heard, because it is for this community that I'm here today to say, please acknowledge the catalytic power of Hout Bay Harbour to create jobs and dignity. Thank you to the committee being here.
Thank you so much, Councillor. Thank you to all the honourable members on their views. Just a few comments from me. One, I think I agree with all the members that are saying that there is a potential here. There is really a potential. But in agreeing with Honourable Mashele, I think we need to be clear in saying that even if there is a potential, take out the criminal activities. I mean, I was afraid, but I pretended that I'm not afraid. When someone is saying to you, hey, we must move, and the deputy executive mayor is saying to me, we were here with subs, and the sub said we must move, and I said, hey, this is worse. and Michelle said, you moved. When subs is saying you must move, I mean, what kind of a place is that? Because if we let the criminals take over, we would have, all of us failed. Yeah. Not only the members of parliament, not only the department, but even the municipality. We would have all failed if we let the criminals take over. So I agree, Honourable Mashele, with what you're saying, that we need to bring in the security cluster, and the issue of the infrastructure development through public-private partnership. It's part of what we discuss, because Infrastructure South Africa is a directorate in public works. So it's part of the things that we discuss. The reality is that public works cannot operate all these. Some of them, they are saying that, in fact, we can see what is happening to those buildings. They need to let out those buildings, but they also need to manage this month-to-month leases. one of the things that has been raised by Auditor General in relation to month-to-month leases that are in public works, they are also a route for corruption, because they can be overcharged or undercharged due to month-to-month leases. So really a plan is needed to develop this area for a lasting solution. But we can't hand over such a part with all the potential that it has to criminals. Today we did that when we moved. And you could see that they were calling each other.
Oh, yeah.
Those two bakkies.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I mean, the first bakkie, there were about 5 or 6. But the two bakkies were full.
And Chair.
And you don't know, but just before you come in, Medi, there's something here that is said that as much as that the FFE, they check the boats that are coming in. I think we need to have regulations that also check these rubber. You can't say that they can come in and go on their own without checking. There could be a lot that is there if we don't check. I think part of control measures, not only here, even in other harbours, small harbours, there ought to be a check also when these rubber, is it rubber dinghies? Rubber ducks? Okay. No. They need to be checked. It can't be that they can come in and no one is controlling. As much as that they're not charged, but they need to be checked. So that even if it's a nominal fee, so that it's not free for all. Because it is that free for all. They came, in fact, they didn't even care who you are. Because no one is going to check what they have. And even when they come back, no one is checking. So I think it's something that I saw a red flag on it. But I agree, the Harbour Management Committee, it needs to be revived. And the participation of municipality is very crucial in that one. Yeah. So whatever issues that are coming up, the municipality as a local sphere is the one that is easy to see. In fact, even in this issue of security, there are metropolis, so if we can work together, they can also play their role in the safety of this harbour. Because even those investors, they won't come if you can't assure safety. Yes, once they have developed the area, the crime may go down. But whilst they are developing it, how are you going to assure them that your investment is safe here? So we really need to, all of us to come in for the development of the area, for the benefit of these two communities that are around this area. The reality is that some of us are old enough to know that before there was no waterfront there. It was not as what it is now. So it developed. We may not have been in Western Cape, but it developed just in front of our eyes. We saw how it happened. So really it is a good story to tell. It can be done even somewhere, but we need all of us to be committed to the cause, but also when that investment is occurring, because that's one other thing that may come in. I think Honorable Mkhoto raised it. When you have that investment, please prioritize the local people, because you will have another challenge if when it comes to employment, they're not prioritized.
Sure.
They can vandalize that and they can stop it. Because they will say, okay, there's an investment that is happening here, we are not part of it. So, but the criminal activities, we need to deal with them as soon as possible.
The point I wanted to make to you, Chair, was I don't know if you saw the look on the face of the drivers of those buckies. They were standing there and they were going, "You don't want to get out of my way, I'll run you over." That was exactly the look on the face. They really, they were that belligerent that they were just going, "You don't want to move? I don't mind. I've got a big car."
Over to
That's
you,
right,
the departments, both departments.
Yeah, Chairperson, we appreciate guidance and counsel and the commitment from the committee members. I've just asked DDG Sue. I will talk to the DDG RAMS and RM that we take the first week of May to come and do the planning for the first Harbour Management Committee session towards the end of May, so that if municipality can also come in, we will draw in all relevant departments in that planning session and the stakeholders, so that at least before end of May we have our first Harbour Management Committee. That will then help to then also resuscitate the local harbour structures as Oversight of that. So DDG Sue has agreed. See DDG she's also giving a thumbs up, so that we can then check the deputy
It's in the office of the deputy
can then indicate to us. We will convene it as public works, and then we will issue the invite through our Cape Town National Office. So that's a firm proposal that we're putting to the committee. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yes.
And I just wanted to take up, Roberta, on the issue that you raised about the plan that you got for Hout Bay. If it's a document that you can share, please, so that we can have a look, because we're also looking, involving the private sector in this area is not something that we have a choice in the matter, because our own security systems or the way we are set up, even when they said they were proposing to have a police station here, the danger is that the police station will become part of the system, and the people that work here will become part of the system, and they will not be assisting as much. But when you have private people that have invested their money in here, it will be prudent that they then protect their assets on our behalf as government. So I'd really like to see that plan. Andrea, as well, you said you also have another plan that you had for, yours was for all the harbours.
Yeah, it was I was referring to the previous, there was a detailed study done of all the harbours. And I was just saying that, we need to collaborate when we're planning it, that the activities that come into the harbour are also linked to the feel of the harbour, and it's, there's some kind of oversight around that.
So all those plans brought together, I think we might actually give that to the baby that we think we are pregnant.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you, Chairperson. I'm very aware
Sorry,
that you are the chair.
Oh, okay. Let finish.
I'm very aware that you're the chairperson,
Okay.
so thank you for the permission, ma'am. Absolutely. So the motion was just a simple vision statement, if you would, which was entitled "Reimagining Hout Bay Harbour." There are a lot of people that have invested in here that are very passionate about this space. The Reimagining Hout Bay Harbour was in fact printed in the local newspaper, and there can be confirmation that there was a great desire from the community of Hamburg to see something like that happen. The reporters went out there, interviewed people in the community, and there was a great appetite to actually say, let's have this conversation. The people of Hamburg love this harbour, and they're very sad to see what has happened over time because of criminal elements that have crept in. The final word on those sort of public-private partnerships and the benefits thereof is that your tariffs, so we heard tariffs being discussed earlier, your tariffs for having hospitality retail component leases, longer term leases, will be much higher than what anything a fisherman can provide you with. established businesses will pay established business rentals or leases, long-term leases as a consortium. And of course, they will also protect their assets. They will have the necessary private security that they'll want there over time collectively to keep the entire space of the harbour precinct secure for their customers, for the people who work here, and the Anglo community, I believe, would be very open to looking at proposals that can come through, and I'd be very happy to facilitate that. The community would benefit, and the city, of course, would be willing to drive that person through the executive mayor, executive deputy mayor, and his environment and special planning committee. They are willing to take hands, and we are all willing to work together.
Rob, just triggered a remark from my side. I think the future use of the harbour should not just be limited to the ocean's economy. I think I wanted to make that point very clear, because if we do that, we'll find ourselves back in this little rut where we find it is an investor to invest here, but the activity is not related to the ocean's economy, then we should accommodate them. One, and then two, the first order of business would be to look at the dated site development plan for the harbour. I think it's just over, I think it was 2012. It's quite old. That needs to be revisited. And the last time we were here, we had colleagues from our enterprise and investment department here that had then interest from the private sector to invest. So of course they won't just yet invest unless they know what are you doing to remedy the root causes here out in Hout Bay. Whether it's the, just a safety plan first and get that right, and slowly but surely eliminating what we've just observed today. It won't happen overnight, but I think if we have a multi-pronged approach, we certainly would respond to mitigate all of those issues here. So I just wanted to make that remark, Chair, because we need to look a lot broader, have a broader focus when we're looking at who we are accommodating on the site here, because that restriction has contributed to where we find ourselves today as well. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Okay, just before.
Legal economy.
Chair, I just want to request that I think we are on the same page. We want to see change happen, and we are serious with it. But in terms of us being sure we've played our part, we need to have regular updates from the relevant stakeholders from that. And I want to plead, Chairperson, I want to make a formal proposal that our very last oversight visit of this term, we should include Hout Bay as part of our oversight.
Okay. TDG, Sue?
Thank you very much, Chair and members. I think I'm not going to respond to all the questions and comments that were raised, because I think the discussion's moved on. We've agreed that we're going to have the first meeting of the steering committee. I would request second week in May, because I'm in Eastern Cape the first week, but we will talk. And I think we need to revisit the terms of reference for that steering committee, including the representation on that steering committee, because I don't think the municipality was part of that previously, so but I fully support that you should be there. I also think that we need to possibly think, and this comes to the leases as well, about zoning the harbour, because this is first and foremost a fishing harbour, and we can't lose that. Yeah. So maybe this part of the harbour must be zoned for fishing activities, but that side of the harbour is business or whatever.
Mixed use.
Yeah.
Keeping it authentic, but making it an investment worthy.
Yeah, absolutely. I also just want to mention that likewise I do take my hat off to the Harbour Master, she does work under extremely difficult circumstances. I don't know if you know that she has been taken hostage on more than one occasion.
That's why I'm saying so.
I agree that this building could be a little bit more secure given the circumstances. And I also agree that first and foremost we've got to make this a criminal-free zone. Issues have been raised with us about that we should be charging access, entry fee and so on. We can discuss it in our committee, but I think this is not the right time to start closing off the harbour when we're talking about the community feeling excluded, even if it's a loss of revenue for us. But I'll put that proposal into the committee. And then just a last, very tiny thing. I agree that we can't solve Hout Bay's problems through the expanded public works program, but nevertheless we have, as we operate the Working for Fisheries program, which is through the expanded public works program, and this year we started quite late. I think only from about October last year did we start actually getting warm bodies on the ground, but we have employed, I think you said 35 people through the Working for Fisheries program since October. We hope to expand that. We will also be employing what we call catch data monitors, and they'll be deployed along the coast, and some of them will be based here in Hout Bay, and it's precisely to augment the capacity to monitor every vessel that comes in. Deputy Mayor, you asked a very difficult question about if we can quantify the value of the illegal fisheries or the illegal economy. And it is very difficult to quantify an illegal activity because by its nature it's illegal and it's undeclared and so on. But there is an NGO that we work with called Traffic, and they try and monitor especially abalone and West Coast rock lobster exports. And what they are saying is that the value of the illegal abalone fishery is about 3 times the legal fishery. And that means that as an economy, we are losing revenue because they're not paying tax. And not only are we losing revenue, but the fishery's been overfished, and it's verging on not extinction, because we don't think it will go extinct, but it's going to be completely unsustainable. So that's not, I can't put a financial value to it, but it's out of control.
I think it's also important to realize that it is very interlinked with drugs.
Yes.
It is not simply the illegal export of abalone and crayfish. It is also the exchange process that occurs here for methamphetamine, which is then cooked into tick and then sold in our communities, and how they poison children, families over time, and then also spins onto another criminal economy, which is your breaking in houses for the sale of goods to buy drugs, and the cycle doesn't stop.
Yeah, and it's not just Hout Bay. I mean, our other big concern, which is where abalone is also being poached, is the Overberg, particularly your Hout Bay area.
I think the sharks would put people off.
and they're facing exactly the same issue. It's syndicated crime, and for drugs, sex trafficking. But what also makes it worse is that those poachers invest in the community.
They buy school shoes.
They buy school shoes. They pay school fees.
Financial loans.
So they're buying the loyalty of the normal community member, and it makes it very difficult for them to whistleblow or to report. Not that they're complicit, but yeah, the
We
approaches are
easily mobilise to
sophisticated.
burn tyres and put rocks in the road to restrict access of.
So it's a real social problem, and until we sort out unemployment and poverty, we're on the back foot.
Andrew?
I have to leave for 5:30. Please receive my sincerest apology. I will contact you with regards to tomorrow.
Okay.
But apologies, I have to exit slowly.
Okay, no, we can release you, Deputy Mayor.
What time do you want to contact the chair?
He's just being full of nonsense.
When you want to speak to the chair, it must be through you.
Sorry. Honorable Mokhoto had raised her hand. Can I allow her? Then you'll come in and.
Thank you, Chairperson. I just want to make a follow-up on this point of the sunk vessels.
Yeah.
That stays here for many years, and you know what? It becomes a hazard to the marine in the ocean, and it also creates a problem for the management and also for the public works. So I'm going to request the two departments, the public works and the fishery department, to try and look into the legislation that governs the running of those vessels that come in and out, and then that docks here, and also try to look at the weakest links and try to remove all the red tapes that makes it very difficult for the management here to dispose the dilapidated vessels that eventually sinks into the ocean. That is what I wanted to comment on. And another weakest link, maybe it's a repetition of what has been said, but I think it should be emphasized. It's very important. We must also, as both departments, take responsibility for some of the things, if not all of the problems that have occurred here, because we take a very long time to monitor. Like now, it's very important that when you go and evaluate something and you agree with whoever that that person must rectify 1, 2, 3, you must also have a short time frame where you go back and get feedback and check if whatever that you agreed upon has been rectified or not. So that's where we lack continuous monitoring and support. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, mine was just a minor comment, but something that we've previously done very well with Public Works as well is align our marine right with the leasing right. So we've done that previously, but it's just a comment in terms of the activities that happen and how we allocate our fishing rights and the leasing right and the duration. We must just flag that again in terms of the 15 years versus 9 years, etc.
On those words, honorable members, I really appreciate, I think even that thing now gone down. that fear, the fear has gone down a little bit. Good. Okay, you're doing a great job. And being a woman in these circumstances, it is really not safe for you, but you are still here. If maybe it was someone else, she could have
abandoned ship.
Yeah, and even decide to leave the job, because safety comes first. The fact that she's still here, having been taken hostage for so many times, but keep on doing the great work that you're doing. But I think all what has been raised, I think our team has noted and captured the serious work that needs to be done here. And I'm also taking what Honorable Van Skalbeck is saying, that I think even before the end of this term, we need to come back, not to all the harbours, but to this one. But what is good is here in Cape Town, we can take one of the days of our committee meetings and just come here. So we will definitely do that with this one. And some of the issues that we are raising at DDGSU, this issue of controlling even the rubber duckets, whatever, it doesn't necessarily mean here. Yes, here there is a challenge, but that's why I was saying that there must be a regulation so that all the other harbours, that thing must be done. Yes, you cannot start it here because you have this hostile environment that you're dealing with here, but you need to develop. So that even when everything has been done, developed that side, the business side, continue with the fishing harbour this side. But you know that because now at least everything is settled, we do have these regulations that we need to apply in and controlling the traffic that is coming in and out of the harbour. In all the harbours, that I think that would be beneficial, in fact, to all the harbours. With those words, all the governmental officials that are here, we really appreciate supporting your heads, and we appreciate the presence of the ward councillor, even in, I don't want to call that name because I'm not even sure. Yzerfontein.
Yzerfontein. Very good.
Yzerfontein. That was an 8.5 out of 10. Scotland, the ward councillor was there, the mayor was there. We really appreciate your interest. When you hear that a committee is coming in, you also come because you have the interest of the communities that you are leading. We really appreciate that. Thank you guys. Tomorrow in
Kalk Bay.
Kalk Bay. Okay.
Kalk Bay and
Kalk Bay.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you very
I'll sign your comments for you to come and say it. We're going to